Let me quickly start here with Olumide. Olumide, you were a part of the election on Saturday. Now, how will you describe the process and events of the day?
Saturday, July 24th, was probably the absolute worst we could see in terms of what Nigeria had to offer. There were cases of voter buying, thumb printing by officials of the state, harassment of polling unit agents being chased away from polling unit boxes just so that they could do what they wanted to do. I mean, just like you said, it's no more an election. It's just a fabrication of votes. So it's Nigeria, and we are suffering for it as a country. Things definitely need to change.
Let me quickly go to Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where Jibril is standing. You heard him. That's a disappointed, politician who came out to see what he can do for his people, grassroots. And I'd spoken with you before on this, and you also told us how much of support you got while you were chairman. So tell us, listening to him, listening to Olumide, and some of the key things you also witnessed as chairman at that time. What are those things you would badly want to see again, to make people like Olumide, a young, vibrant politician in Nigeria, not be so distraught?
Honestly, I didn't expect that it could go that low, because speaking the way he spoke, the tone, the lack of words to express his disappointment, the state of disillusionment that even came to his face as he spoke, just reflected what we spoke about, why the local government election should be even treated much more importantly than the presidential election. Because the foundation of democracy rests with people being encouraged, being made hopeful, being made willing, wanting to, change or bring a new government or consolidate a government that is in place and feel that they own the government. And continuously we keep saying that yes, there is the constitutional provision for state electoral commissions in the Constitution. But to the moment I'm speaking to you, no state electoral commission has the infrastructure to conduct election in their states. They all still depend on the National Electoral Commission's infrastructure. They don't have the voters, they don't have the technical capacity, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the ballot boxes, they don't have anything. They still just some government lackeys being put in the Secretariat of state electoral commissions to do the bidding of the state government. I can assure you that, like he was trying to say, what was even taking place outside in the open glare, it was just even the drama, was the lesser drama. I can assure you that the results of elections that would have been read had already been written, because I had a personal experience. When similar election was carried out when I wanted to run for the second term, the ward, my polling unit, where I voted, I got 0, because they had already written the results before the elections were conducted. And they mistook my own polling unit for another one. So where they thought I voted, they gave me 9 votes. And where I actually was my polling unit, they gave me 0 as a candidate. So it's a sham, and it is already beginning to have effect even at the national elections. You can hear people say that once a government is in power and election is coming up, they begin to be disillusioned, and what they use, the government power will always find a way of going about and consolidating its power. And it became apparent even the last week when the amendment to the electoral law was being contemplated in the National Assembly. You could see that the government power was refusing for putting effective provision in the INEC law to transmit results electronically, because they are already programming their mind what to do with election results on the day of election.
That's one. Sorry to cut you here. That's one aspect I also love us to talk about. Rejigging the Constitution. Also talking about the caliber of persons who represent the people at the National Assembly, and people wonder how is it that they can sit pretty well in the chamber and think of such, an anti-democratic, inclusion in the constitution of the country. I'll come back to you, Jibril Sabo Kiana. Listening to him, he said he also got a very bad experience back in the day when he contested in the early 2000s. The thing here is that for a man to be so given a result sheet to say you scored 0, as if you also didn't vote for yourself, because that's where he actually voted.
Yes.
So they just told him that, look, you also didn't trust yourself, you didn't have faith in yourself to have voted for someone else. So when we talk about voter turnout that is low, tell us, because when you were campaigning in your area, did you feel that it was going to come out this way? Were the people enthusiastic? Did you see a lot of people tell you that, look, Olumide Thompson, I'm going to come out, and ultimately the reverse was the case?
Well, yes, I think a lot of responsibility also lies with the people. There are two cadres of people, the white-collar folk and the blue-collar folk. What you tend to find, or what I tend to find, is that a lot of the white-collar folk have decided not to get involved in local government participation, and yet they complain the most about what's going on in Nigeria. So the blue-collar folk tend to be the ones that are most engaged in local government participations. Just before the elections, we took a poll asking people if they recognize whom their local government representatives were. And 8 out of 10 of the white-collar folk didn't know who their councillors or the local government chairman were. 8 out of 10, that's 80% of the population there didn't understand who their local government representatives were, because they were no longer interested. So as a result of that, the standards of local government administration have dropped to a level where those who are involved are okay with it, just as a result of their lack of exposure, not necessarily for any other thing. So if you expect more and say Nigeria X, Nigeria is this, it's not going to change because you're not involved in the level closest to the people. And just like my honorable chairman said, results is more or less staged at the way it is now. And for my own situation, for instance, my collation agent was not allowed into the collation office to count my votes. Because
wait a minute, your recognized and approved collation agent wasn't given access?
Precisely, because what they did was, as opposed to taking it from the polling units to the collation center, they just took it straight to the local government office, which is a non-neutral ground anyway. So on identification of my own agent as a collation officer, he was refused entry into the office.
Let me bring in Jibril Sabo Kiana here. Listening to him, I saw the smile on your face. You are an experienced administrator. That's why we'll always get back to you here. What are the issues, and the challenges identified to be the biggest concern of the people? But before that, I'm so sorry I'm giving you a two-way here. Listening to him, if that aspect of the Electoral Act, which some were against, were to be in place, would this issue that Olumide just talked about, collation of results and computing of that result, would he have had that same problem if we had the electronic transmission of result?
No, it would have been minimized. It would have been minimized to the extent of credibility being brought into the process for the good of even whoever would emerge eventually, because you would have been comfortable that this is the true reflection of what would have happened. And if you would have gotten also a reflection of whether areas where you are not accepted and find a way of reconciling with them in the course of your being in government. So definitely, if that provision is included, it will encourage people to have reason to come out and vote.
So we're talking about some of the things here because everyone says politics is local, and it's expected, listening to him, it's expected that the people will be more interested in local council elections, bearing in mind that they know the active players. But from the poll he and his team conducted, it doesn't seem that way. It looks like some people that should know don't seem to know.
No, they do know. It is because they do know that they don't bother to be involved anymore. Because what is the essence? Like I said, the 1999 election that brought us in was one of the most inspiring elections that ever took place. The volume of campaign that went to it, the enthusiasm that was led by white-collar people, so to say, was so enriching that you would know that the country was ready to go into democratic involvement by all. And the results were so overwhelming in the manner that the person who lost would have been losing, who lost in my election, for instance, lost just by a few hundred votes. And it took him time to reconcile with himself because he really campaigned. You would see the enthusiasm in people. Today, you can bring everything, and a couple of those who will come and pick the transfer from campaign rallies. Nobody will come. The elites will not come because they know you're just wasting your time. The government has already made up its mind, and it's very dangerous for the country. And it's also what is permeating every aspect of our life. Nobody ever takes government as his business anymore. Government has become an amorphous definition, amorphous subject matter that people are beginning to be even ashamed to be associated with, or don't even bother if it exists. And it's not good for the country. It gives room for people now to rather return to banditry, to illegalities, to do things that are wrong, to surgery. Because I'm sure if he continues to give us the history of what will happen, he may soon begin to tell us about gunshots and people who are wounded by cutlasses and so on and so forth. Because that's what the game has turned into. People who want to come to office begin from time, prepare for facts that will escort him, that will escort every polling unit results, that will ensure that what they want takes place in any form that it can happen. And usually the government power, of course, has access to more funds, has access to the police and instructions that are usually passed down in the course of time, except for a few instances where it's overwhelming. The government will also have its way with this kind of thing. And I think it's dangerous for the country. And like he said, why would you blame the white-collar people when, in the first instance, they had made all efforts to ensure that governments that they truly would wish to be represented by a particular person is openly denied the opportunity to be voted for. They did it first time, second time, fourth time. Why would they come out? So if this disillusionment has already gone this far to white-collar people, when it becomes apparent with the local people, it will be war from day one.